Hello, South Africa. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome yet again to Gospel News, to Close Up, rather, right here on Gospel News SA. I go by the name of Portia Dlamini, and I'm going to be your host for today. So thank you so much for making a turn on to our show this afternoon, where we have difficult discussions, but necessary nonetheless. To the new viewers out there who are tuning in for the first time, thank you so much for making a turn. Just to give you a little bit background about the show is a platform where we have discussions ranging from depression, alcoholism, mental health, different forms of abuse, and we're just using this platform to just raise awareness and to show that it is possible to get through it all. To be part of the show, it's very simple. All you have to do is just share your thoughts, opinions, and just your comments in the comment section below, and we will engage with you as we engage with our guest today. Today, we will be having a very sensitive discussion regarding depression. Worldwide, depression affects more than 300 million people, and that is between 6 and 10% of the population will experience a depressive episode in any given year. According to the World Health Organization, depression is also the fourth leading cause of disability worldwide, and it has become the second most common cause of disability in 2020. Today, I'm joined by two incredible women, Lerato Daunyani and Nontsikelelo Shabalala, two, according to me, winners when it comes to depression, two ladies that went through it and are still alive to tell their story regarding depression and how they are winning on each and every day. Please help me welcome Lerato Daunyani and Nontsikelelo Shabalala. Ladies, thank you so much for making your time to join me this afternoon. I think our microphones are off, ladies. If you can switch them off, Lerato and Nontsikelelo.
Hi, Portia.
Hi, how are you doing, ladies?
Good, thanks.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
It's, thank you for making time to join us. I mean, it must be a very difficult topic to have a discussion about, especially, right now. I can only imagine what it's like dealing with COVID and all the struggles that came with it, and also to have a mental illness, diagnosed with a mental illness. I can only imagine what it's like for you ladies. All right, we're gonna go straight into the questions, starting with our lovely lady, Hato. I read a little bit about yourself. Of course, I did a little bit of research about you. Growing up in Soweto, and I can only imagine with the life Soweto presents. But before we get into that, wouldn't you give us like a little bit of who Lerato is, how her upbringing, and a little bit more about who Lerato is, just for our guests who do not know you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me on the show. Okay, I go by the name of Lerato Daunyani. I am 26 years of age, born and bred in Soweto, Netherlands. I'm the only girl at home amongst two brothers. So I am like the egg at home, basically. I'm a very busy person. I've got a 9-to-5 job. I'm a store manager. I also have an events company. Basically, I'm a wedding planner. I've got an organization called Women in Christ Conversations, where we just share the word of God and just uplift each other almost every month. And then I'm also a mentor to two amazing ladies. And yeah, if I could go on, I could take hours. But anyway, I think I've said enough. And thank you for having me on the show.
That's the reason why I didn't want to go into it, because I felt like I was also going to be reading a very long list of such incredible achievements, ladies. It's humbling to have you on the show. Let's go to Unontselo. Tell us a little bit about yourself. The reason why I'm asking these questions, to just give you a brief description, is I want to show how normal it is that you can be and to still experience this that we're going to be talking about today. So I want to dive into exactly that. The same with you, Nontekelelo. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, just the type of person you are. Tell us who are you?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so Unantsigelelo is a 26-year-old from the West Rand, Kagiso. I was born in Tembisa, raised in the West Rand. I'm the second child of four. I was raised in a very warm home by both parents, mother, father. And I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm currently writing a book based on my journey with mental illness. So yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the book. What is it about? What you say mental awareness, if I'm not mistaken. But just tell us a little bit. What can we expect out of it? How? Give us more details.
Okay, so the book is based on my experience with mental health, but most of the time we face similar challenges. The stigma in our communities, even stigma in our families, rejection in the family. So I was diagnosed in my early teens, and that's where I realized that a whole lot of the Black community is misinformed when it comes to mental illness. So you get a whole lot of names, you get called names, you get sidelined, and it's like you're incapable of doing anything for yourself. So basically the book, I'm hoping that it helps young teenagers that are suffering from mental illness. But most importantly, I hope it helps the parents so that they're able to handle and assist the kids in the right manner, if I can put it like that.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I think that's one of the main reasons why I wanted you to give a bit more information about your book, because it's very leading to my next question, which I'm dealing with two Black ladies as I'm sitting here. And I know the stigma around depression, especially around the Black community. And I wanted to know, your experience, both of you ladies, having to come to terms with accepting, one, that you could be depressed, and then secondly, how your family, your society, your immediate people really handled this new truth. I'll start with the Lerato and we'll jump straight to Nontekelelo.
Okay, with me, it was in the year 2018. It started off as me being always tired, forever stressed, highly emotional, moody, and I just couldn't function, like mentally. So this one day, I just broke down. I was at work. I broke down and I was rushed to the hospital. And at the back of my mind, I was just like, it's just stressed and I'm overworked. And then I was rushed to the hospital, went to casualty, and then they checked my high blood pressure. It was on 190.
Sure.
So that is like a stroke situation. And then I was stabilized, fortunately, at that time. And then my doctor just came to my ward, and I just broke down. I started crying. And then he asked me, what's wrong? I just kept on crying. I remember I cried for about 30 to 45 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. And I was just shaking. And I didn't have any words to utter. But then on that day, I call it my rebirth, because I actually opened up to what was eating me inside. Because depression is dark, okay? It's dark, it's painful, it's scary, because with my situation, I was labeled as crazy. I was labeled as crazy at work and at home, because there was this little voice that always told me that you're not worth it. This voice that just said, just commit suicide. this voice that just said, you know what, it was basically negativity. So on that day, as I said, I call it my rebirth, because I actually opened up to what was actually affecting me. And it was on the 17th of December, 2018. I honestly blessed that day, because I actually opened up to the reason as to why I was breaking down. As much as I was like 24 years of age, and working, having a business, having everything that I dreamed of, and smiling, but I was breaking inside. The fact that my parents separated in 2016. That's when my dad left us at home. And I was like, I'm fine, but I was not fine. It was actually eating me up that, okay, my parents separated. The burden was on me. The financial burden was on me. I had to assist my mother. And it actually affected my self-esteem as well, because I felt like I'm not worthy of anything. I thought that I will also grow up being a woman and be like my mother, having a man to just leave me, you know. So that actually affected me. Number two is my stutter. I actually stutter. So with that one, since a tender age of, I think I was 8 years old, I felt like I was different from other kids, because I used to stutter, and every time I had to finish off a sentence, it was difficult for me. And the minute I finish a sentence, my listeners were already laughing at me. So with that one, it's something that I realized in 2018, that it was also eating me up inside, because I really wanted to interact with people, but it was very hard for me. As I said, it affected my self-esteem. And then in the year 2018, I spoke to my doctor. That's when I was referred to a psychologist. I stayed at the hospital for a good 3 weeks.
Sure.
But that 3 weeks was worth it, because that's where I found healing, and that's where I actually discovered myself and that I have a purpose in life. But then the sad part is that with the Black community, as you guys mentioned, is that there's a lot of stigma, you know, because with me, they would call me and ask me, what's wrong? We heard that you're in a hospital. And then they asked me what's wrong. And I was like, no, I was diagnosed with depression. It was a joke to most of my family members, saying that
Hi, Lerato. Are you still with us?
It's December. I just want to. Hello. Sorry
Yes,
about
sorry.
that.
No, it's okay. It's network. You were still telling your story.
Yeah. So, at that time, they were telling me that I just want to finish the medical aid fund, because it was December.
Sorry,
Number
I think we.
two is that.
Sorry, Lerato. I think we're having a little bit of connection problems, and your story is cutting a little bit. And I think it's very necessary for us to hear you. I think you can still share a little bit more of your story, and really just how, you know, how the community around you just accepted this new truth that you know, that you are depressed, and it's not you trying to finish off the medical aid like you touched on, and which is the common perception, especially around the Black community, that it is not a real illness. So I can only imagine what it was like for you. So I really do want you to finish off your experience of how it was, because I'm pretty sure there's someone out there who is experiencing what you went through. So please just continue from there.
All right. Sorry about what happened. And the one that they mostly said is that I I have an illness of white people. So that was the one thing that triggered me the most, with the people that are around me saying that I have an illness that is meant for white people. So that's when I was like, you know what, I need to be away from most of my family members because that was my healing process. But fortunately, my mom and my dad, even though they were separated, they actually wanted to know more about what I was going through. And my doctor actually gave them a run through of what I was going through. But then I had to be away from most of my extended family members based on the negativity. So after the 3 weeks of the psychology and whatnot, of which I was in the wellness ward. So when you have mental health, they normally refer you to the wellness ward. That's where I was. And with that being said, as I was learning and I was in a healing journey, my family took the time to actually educate themselves based on what I was going through. I think that for me was the cherry on top, because they took their time to actually educate themselves based on what I was going through, which that was a bonus for me based on my healing process. And then with my extended family members, as I said, they were not that supportive. I just decided to actually distance myself from them. And then with me as a person, as my doctor and my psychologist gave me a few activities and things to do based on me healing. And with that being said, even at work, because I stayed a whole month without going to work, I had to educate the people around me at work. But fortunately at work, they knew the situation that I was going through, and they were actually supportive with me. The only issue was the extended family members. But with that being said, my healing process was more of self-discovery, me opening up about what was eating me inside. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing how just having one short conversation can actually change your life forever, and actually saving you from the darkness that you were in. Because I had 2 to 3 attempts of me committing suicide, but unfortunately I did not actually. Fortunately, I'm alive.
Yeah, I was about to say, fortunate, you're going the wrong direction. Fortunately, you were here to, to share a bit of your story. I think you are telling all of your life story, and I wanted to just step back a little, step back to just what I want us to show is just how a normal person, a normal everyday, you wake up on Saturday, normal person can still suffer from this. And there's many triggers and many things that could really spark up this issue or this illness in people. I just want us to just step to Sis Nontsikelelo a little, so that we can just hear a little bit of her story, how she's dealing with how the society has accepted this, especially family. I liked how Lerato just touched on her family was active in terms of trying to understand the illness, which is quite a blessing. And you're very blessed, Lerato, because most Black families will be like, how are you depressed when there's food in the fridge? That could be that could be the approach. So I want to hear from Nontsikelelo, what was your experience with coming to terms with this, and your family and all those?
All right, so with me, it all started off when I lost my dad in 2006. I was 12 years then. And years went by. It was 2008, I started hallucinating. So even after losing my dad, we don't get any counseling or anything like that, which is very important for when you lose a parent, whether a mother or a dad. You just need to get used to, make it a norm, having counseling needs to be a norm in our communities because the loss is a huge thing. So with me, my illness was sparked by loss. So once after I lost my dad, then I started getting sick. So my case is different because every single time I would have eat depression, it would be as if the mind alerts the body. So whenever I was going through a bad phase mentally, I would get sick physically. So then I got admitted 2009 for a lump. I have about 8 surgeries on my body, and that's because of depression. Yeah, I have had 8 operations, and 2010, I had a minor stroke because of that. And that was when I was officially diagnosed with bipolar disorder and anxiety depression. Sure, it's been a tough experience. It's been very tough. Just like Lorato mentioned, you hear things such as, yeah, it's white people's illness. When my uncle called my mom, when my mom said, no, they say that she's got bipolar. My uncle said that, no, that was what was said. And that's what the community believes, our families believe. My mom worked at a psychiatric hospital, but when my doctor told her that your daughter has bipolar disorder type 1, my mom almost fell off her chair and she didn't understand, would know how. How is it? She's fine, she's doing well at school. So I'm understanding when you say that she's got bipolar. And that's when my doctor broke it down to her. And then certain things that the doctor said my mom could link with my characteristics and the type of person that I am at home. And it started making sense to her with, oh, okay, now I understand when you do 1, 2, 3, it's because of this. I got the biggest support from my mom and my gran. Unfortunately, they both passed away. But they were my biggest cheerleaders, and they did not understand the depth of mental illness, depression, bipolar, but they tried to support me in every way possible that they could. As well as my siblings, I'm the second of 4. They try to understand, they try to educate themselves every day, because that's the thing. Once you get diagnosed with depression and you're on chronic medication, it's very important to treat it like any other chronic illness, whether it's sugar diabetes, high blood pressure, HIV. It's very, very important to treat it like that. You stay on your meds, you take good care of yourself, because there's this thing also. I remember when my mom told my aunt about my illness, my aunt was like, no, so sometimes so keep allowing my demon, demon, there's no such thing as depression. And there was a point in my life where I was cutting myself. So even that was a strength for them to say, yeah, but demon, it's demonic things. And sure, it's been a long journey. It's been over 10 years with this, and you can never get used to it. And reason I'm saying this, it was with my recent act. I tried taking my life this year on the 29th of Feb. That was the last one, and I could say it was the biggest one. It was the big. I was done. I've always, probably it was my 4th attempt, but with this year's attempt, I was more adamant. Because I had started planning out my suicide from last year, May.
Sure.
So I planned out everything. I started giving out my clothes. I started writing letters, and yeah. So I decided on the 29th that this is it. I am just done. But I guess God had the final say, because he knew I had to be here today to tell the story. And yeah.
So we thank God. Truly thank God that you are still here with us, because sure, I mean, from last year, May is quite some time. I'm just going to bring in the doctor with everything that you ladies have said today. Osiabonga Nzangashe, if I'm pronouncing the surname correctly. These ladies have shared their stories, their upbringing, and the measures that they've went through because of this illness. And we touched on something that's very important, that in the Black community, this is still seen as just not an illness, not something that we should be taking as a matter of concern. And I just want to jump onto you, Doctor, like you said, I must call you Siyabonga. Share a little bit more about, how we can be able to pick these up, that someone is depressed, because sometimes it just looks like, they're just being dramatic, or we just have a negative view towards their direction. But how do we tell that, this is actually something quite serious? How do we pick it up in our sisters and brothers, so that we can be able to start not allowing ourselves to be knowledgeable about depression?
Okay, thank you so much, Portia. And yes, my name is just Siyabonga Njangase. Greetings to everyone watching online and the ladies who spoke. Before I start, I just want to commend the ladies for being so strong, opening up about such big things. I can imagine how much suffering you guys went through, and I just want to commend you for your resilience and your strength, and your stories are important. Okay, so one thing about mental health issues, because the word mental health covers a whole lot of issues that were not mentioned, like anxiety, bipolar, depression, and such. Mostly are two things: that we all feel all these things. Everyone has a bad day. Everyone goes through the most, as COVID has shown us. But with mental health, there are two things that remain: that the symptoms are frequent, so they happen more often in a day, and they last longer. So for someone, they can have one bad day. Someone who's depressed has that going on for 2 weeks straight. So we sometimes struggle to eat, we struggle to sleep, we struggle to go to work, we struggle to be with people, and that's actually normal. But what happens with people who are mental health users is that it goes on for longer than expected. For instance, with depression, someone may, or in this way, that it disrupts your life. So if all of these things that are happening to us at a time, they come to a point where they disrupt your daily living and they are not getting any better, then you need to really speak to someone. You need to see a doctor or a psychologist. So what I'm trying to say is, we all go through all these things, but so much more happens with people living with mental health illnesses, that it persists and it ruins their daily functioning. People can't go to school, can't go to work, can't participate in relationships, going to church, and all those things. So those are the things that we should notice. And someone who's suicidal, you always hear by what they say and do. Sometimes they won't be as open as Nontsigelelo mentioned, by writing letters and giving away clothes, but there are hints such as losing interest in the things that they used to love, no longer eating, like appetite is a big thing. Not sleeping is also another thing, and not being active at work. So either giving up from going to work, or no longer looking for work, or not performing at work. So when you notice that this person, Ayman, then they're just not being themselves. And I think those are the first part that we need to be aware of.
And then Siyabonga, when it comes to seeking help, after noticing these different, I guess, indicators of
Yes.
a possible mental illness, where do we start? Where can people go? What numbers can they call so they can get a little bit of help?
Okay, so we thank God for the internet, that all this is available. I'm on my phone right now, and as I was Googling, I found a list of helplines that are available. I'm just going to share two, but I found this from the website from the South African Mental Health Federation, and the two helplines that I feel are really helpful is SADC, which is the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, and the Suicide Crisis Line. I will say though that these lines are often very busy, so it's good for people to be patient. So I'm just going to say the number. So for SADC, it's 011-234-4837. And for the Suicide Crisis Line is 0800 567 567, or you can SMS 31393. So I'm gonna send the link to this video after when we're done, if I can, so that people can be able to access. But the other biggest thing that is possible and that I want to plead to people is that before someone goes to see a doctor, family support is really important. We shouldn't be having issues like what Lerato had to go through, where she had to explain her own illness to people who should just go ahead. And so caring for people, you don't have to understand what they're going through, but at least you can just care for them. Ask questions, ask how you can be there for him, or listen, because not everyone is out there to want advice. Just listen and get more information before we use our own stereotypes, like, hey, we'll pray for you, or you are demon possessed, or you're just being sensitive and moody and white. All of those things are not necessary. Let's just have the spirit of Ubuntu as we're in Heritage Month. Just be nice, be nice. That's all I want to say.
All right, thank you so much, Doctor, for making time today to share a little bit of that professional view of depression and how to deal with it and all these things. I hope that information that you shared will help a lot. I just want to jump onto the comments that I've been receiving from our Facebook channel. I got one from Zintle Ngumbani saying, I am extremely proud of you for getting out from that dark place. You are warriors, you are conquerors. Please try to get into conversation and, move after. Okay, I think I just skipped a little bit of words there, but what she's sharing is that she is so proud of the ladies. I think we echo that sentiment that, it takes such bravery to stand up and be like, hey, I have an illness that most of my people don't understand, and I'm bringing awareness about it, and I want you to jump onto, helping me get this known in and around our society. We got another comment from Sipesihle Nyandu saying that as the Black community, we definitely need to be educated more on mental illness, because I know for a fact that a lot of our own people in the Black community still think that mental illness is a white people's illness. And that's what you touched on as well, Doctor, and we've been touching on throughout the conversation, that it is not taken as something that is serious. It is not taken as something that is, a matter of concern. And I think the ladies today that we have on our show have showed that it is actually a matter of concern. We just got another comment as they're coming in. There's another one saying that I'm extremely proud of you. I think a lot of our viewers are sharing that they are so proud of you ladies having the bravery to come share this story. We can only imagine what it's like to be in that. We're just gonna go back to, we'll start with Lerato again, to just tell us, like, if you had an advice or words of wisdom for someone who is young going through this, because I think from the conversations, there's different triggers to getting into a state of depression. But if you were to give advice to a younger lady watching, struggling with this mental illness, what advice would you give them?
Okay, with me, I'd honestly say it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. And the one that stands out for me is that it's okay to ask for help. Talking actually helps, because we live in a world, especially with the Black community, that people don't really know and are not really educated about this. And you talking to someone about what you're actually going through is the one advice that I would give my younger self, because you find yourself being scared of being judged, being scared of what the next person will say, being scared to voice out based on the situation that you're going through. And with me, as I said, my rebirth, it was basically about talking, that helped me open up and telling my doctor what I was going through, because I didn't, even myself, I didn't know much about mental illness and mental health. I didn't know much about it. I felt that I'm just stressed and I'm going through a lot. But that became part of me, my daily routine. Like it went on and on. I was moody, I was always emotional, but I felt like I always have to be good. I always have to be happy. I don't always have to be sad. You know, I couldn't express my emotions. So to just end this, I would say that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to open up to the next person based on how you feel, because you will find help. And going back to what the doctor said, the internet is always there for us. There is always something on the internet based, even with me, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, I mostly spoke to them using their WhatsApp line. That's because sometimes we can't express our wording, like talking over the phone. You can actually type how you feel. So yeah.
And then with you, Sis Nontshekelelo, I mean, Lerato touched on something that I wanted to touch on, which is, you know, we never, I can only imagine when you all realize that you were depressed, but we don't see it. We just think it's normal. Lerato touched that she thought that it was just being overworked. And I mean, that could happen to anyone. You think, you know what, I'm just tired. And then it goes on to the next day and you're like, maybe I am too tired. You know, maybe rest the weekend thinking you'll kick back to your normal self. But, you know, it just doesn't happen. What advice, you know, I want to hear from you as well. What advice would you give someone that thinks that, you know, it's normal, it's not something of concern, I will get over it, when to seek help, and you know, platforms, you know, that are there that people need to explore. So what advice would you give in that direction?
The advice I can give me is educate. People need to educate themselves with regards to mental illness, because it's a broad topic, and it's sad because mental illness is what's currently destroying our youth in South Africa right now, because suicide rates are just skyrocket, and it's just bad. It's bad. People fall into drugs, into alcohol, because they're depressed. They try to escape all the pain that you're feeling inside, that you just end up going for substance abuse. So I would say that it's important that we educate ourselves, so that even you as the next person, you're able to support, whether it's a friend or a cousin or a sister, with understanding how exactly to do it, you know, because I know when you're in a depressed state, there are certain things that you don't like hearing, like pray it away. I know that I did not appreciate those statements. No, Tandaza, you know, get rid of the demons, do this, fight harder. You know, I'm here, I'm tired, and I'm done with life, and you're telling me to fight. Where do I get the strength to fight this? So I'm saying that it's important that we educate ourselves. It starts with us, for the next generations to have a better future, and that so that depression and mental illnesses as a whole is considered just as important as any other illness, regardless of that it's not naked to the eye, because that is the problem with depression. You get so sick on the inside, but you can't produce what, you know, I broke my arm, or I've got a headache, or you know, like it's not tangible. So it's not believable, because it's something that they can't see. You're just saying, I am not okay. And like you mentioned, it's a black parent thing. How are you not okay? How are you not okay? You're eating, you've got a roof over your head. How are you not okay? What's bothering you? You don't have bills, you know? But it all starts there. The earlier, the better. I feel like the earlier we normalize counseling, we normalize seeing a therapist, you know, so that you don't carry on these traumas, because the traumas you get at a young age is what you carry into adulthood. And that's why you find sad and broken adults. So it's very, very important and essential that we see therapists. So that's what I can say, me, is that it's okay. Anyone going through this right now, it's okay to see a therapist. It's okay to talk to someone, to seek help, because our community is still not informed enough. You might vent towards a friend, and a friend might just tell the next friend, and it's a disaster. That's a call for disaster, because now you trusted the friend, the next thing you hear the other friend talking about that. So rather seek professional help, talk to someone, be on medication. It's a challenge. I know I had a challenge with my pills. I used to flush them down the toilet at some point because I couldn't. I had a struggle swallowing them, but it's possible. It's possible. It's a battle that we fight every day. You don't stop fighting depression. The battle never stops, but it's possible.
It truly is possible. And I thank you, ladies, so much for spending time with us to share your story and to show that you can live with it. You just need to get the help that is necessary to make sure that you are on the right course and you're consistently surrounding yourself with environments and organizations that help you get better. I know Lerato Daonyane touched earlier on that she is part of the founder, rather, of Women in Christ organization, where you can have discussions about this and you can receive help. Lerato, if you can go into a bit more details just for our listeners, and just share a little bit more of how they can get in touch, how they can get help, and all that information.
Okay. With me, it's an organization that I started in 2016, based on just women sharing their difficulties, sharing their victories, sharing everything that they're going through, and also making God the solid foundation of everything. But based on what I was going through, I felt the need that this can be a much broad organization where we as women can just sit down together and share our experiences and share the knowledge based on the difficulties that we went through and the help that we received along the line. Like last year, I felt the need that I also have to educate myself more based on this mental health issue. That's why I attended most of the South African depression and anxiety group workshops where I received knowledge about this, as my fellow sister said that it's important to educate ourselves. As much as I knew that I know about this, but there is more to learn. So I felt that my organization shouldn't be just about our daily issues only, but it should be about things that we go through, but we don't know how serious these things are. So basically with me, it's still something that's small, where we have like
I think we lost Lerato there, and she was still sharing a bit more about how and when all the platforms where we can get help. Sis Nomtsekelelo, we'll just jump to you while Lerato connects again. If anyone wanted to get in contact with you to share their story, like you said, talking really does help in such situations. Where can they get a hold of you? And then we're just going to jump back to Lerato to finish off.
I am on Facebook. It's Nontsigelelo Shabalala. On Instagram, it's Miss Shabalala. And yeah, so those are my social media platforms, and they are not private, they're public for the public to see. So anyone who needs me can get hold of me there.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Nontsigelelo and Lerato. I see Lerato has disconnected. Unfortunately, with the struggles of today times, network will always be an issue. I'm going to go straight to the last comment that we got today. We got it from Portia Dlamini, saying that I'm so glad I watched this. It shows that God saved these beautiful ladies so that they can share with the world that such stories exist, and others will know that they are not alone. Thank you so much, ladies, and thank you to everyone who joined us today to have these uncomfortable conversations and to make it a norm to speak out, seek help, and surround yourself with people that can truly push you to recovery. My name is Portia Pile, and this is how we close off today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us.